heard of feats of superhuman strength? When people lift things far heavier than normally deemed possible by humans, such as lifting a car off a loved one. In this video series, exploring superhuman strength, we're going to discover how this is possible and even more how you can consciously unlock this ability to do it at will yourself. And to help me do this, here's Joss, who you might recognise from my video on how to adopt the lotus posture. Joss is an extremely experienced professional yoga teacher. And Joss, you explain why you're here.
Okay, so this started a couple of weeks ago. I was around here practicing slack rope, and we were talking about Bodhidharma. For some of you, or for those of you who don't know, Bodhidharma or Dharmo was a Zen patriarch who went from India to China, and he went to what's now known as the Shaolin Monastery. And when he got there, he found that the monks had very bad health, and he wanted to try and help them out. So he meditated on that problem. The story goes that he meditated in a cave facing a wall for 9 years. And when he came back with a series of exercises called the Yi Jin Jing. And I mean, you actually wrote a book about these.
Yeah, so this Yi Jin Jing or sinew transformation exercises are reputed to have amazing superhuman effects. So they allow you to lift massive weights and to have a lot more strength than most people. But they also make you younger and bring around great health. And unlike Western exercises that tend to involve lifting something or working against some kind of resistance, they're purely meditative. So just to give you an example, you could choose your biceps as muscles here, and you would breathe in and imagine your energy, your chi, your breath going into those biceps as you tense them. Imagine how they're becoming stronger, imagine that force glowing, and then release. And there's a standing joke between Joss and I, which is everything comes from India. Yeah. Everything comes from India. It's normally Joss making that statement. But this time it was me. It was me thinking, well, everything else Bodhidharma brought over was just pure Indian tradition. And I don't believe that these muscle exercises, he made them up. I bet you there's an Indian equivalent. So I immediately Googled, no delay on this, and put in Indian muscle tensing exercise, and there it was, Dhandal and Bhasky.
Yeah, so very quickly from there, we're just talking about Bodhidharma. He goes, I bet there's a Indian equivalent, Googles it and comes up with something I've never heard of before. And to put that in context, I've been studying yoga, not just practicing, but also looking into the old texts and everything for over 20 years. And I'd never heard of Dhandal and Bhasky before. This was it's referenced from a book by James Hewitt called The Complete Book of Yoga. And what he describes is a series of exercises which are kind of miming physical exercise, so whether miming lifting weights or rowing a boat or climbing up a rope, but doing that with dynamic tension, breathing into the areas that you're working with, but also again imagining your health improving. Now, so I've never heard of Dhandal and Bhasky before, and if you have, I'd really like to hear from you. So they don't even look particularly like Indian words to me. But what did strike a chord was that these exercises seem to be very similar to something that I teach in my classes, just without the emphasis on strength. In this book, Asana Pranayama Mudra Bandha, it's one of the Bihar School of Yoga books, this one here. It describes these kind of exercises where you do things like turn a big millstone or climb a rope, and these were done just for mobility, and that's why I'd always taught them, like to loosen off shoulders and hips particularly. And they're done with breathing. But something clicked and I thought, well, maybe something was lost along the way. And so I started to try them with this emphasis on strength, on resistance, on building strength, particularly. So from an exercise which would just look like this to move around the hips, suddenly it becomes... And I started to find immediate benefits from that. So I started to apply it to other things like the warrior posture and sun salutations particularly. And straight away I started to find a lot of benefits for myself. So after a couple of weeks I started to include them in my classes, and I was getting brilliant feedback from them. People are loving it, saying it makes them focus a lot more, that they're feeling their alignments better. So a lot of advantages straight away. But we're more interested in the superhuman strength side of it.
Yeah, we know both these exercises work as bodybuilding style exercises and increase your strength, but obviously they're intended to, and both have claims. I think there's a lot of mentions of this in yoga, of claims that a yogi will get superhuman strength. In some of the historical texts. Yeah,
there's one story in the Dattatreya Yoga Sutra. It's not so much a story as a claim that the yogi will get so powerful he could kill a wild animal with a single blow, like an elephant or a lion. Or from evidence or anecdotal evidence in the autobiography of a yogi, the Yogananda book. He describes meeting a Swami, a big powerful man who in his 60s could still crush bricks in his hand.
Yes. So this is definitely a possibility in the yoga tradition.
Yeah.
Just so people understand the difference here, these Indian Dhandal Bhasky exercises, they were done in front of a mirror, or your teacher at the front.
Yeah.
And unlike the Yi Jin Jing, when it's just muscle focus, you imagine your whole body being healthy, and you can do it with anything. I mean, I think that's I interpret that right. You could, so if you're watching here and you're using a mouse, just imagine that mouse is amazingly heavy and hard to move as you try to move the pointer, but don't click on a different video. Or if you're holding a iPad or a phone, that's amazingly heavy.
Yeah.
And to me, the similarities are important. Both these exercises are of the mind as much as they are the body.
Yeah, there seems to be three really important things. One is the imagining the resistance to what you're doing. So if you're moving, imagine you're moving against resistance, like as if you're walking through honey or something like that. Yeah. Two, the breathing. So that you breathe into the muscles that you're actually using.
Yeah.
And three, the imagination, that you imagine yourself getting stronger and more healthy.
Okay, so we've got these two different sets of exercises. We've got those overlaps, as you say, both claiming that can unlock this ability to have superhuman strength. The next video is going to be us exploring how. So we're going to look at actually what that mechanism is. How can you unlock this strength? And if anyone has anything to contribute, please do send us information. We'll include that in the video.
Yeah.
I'm also going to put a link to Joss's YouTube channel, which is YogaTree33.
Yeah, on that channel what I'll do in the meantime is I'll do a demonstration video of these exercises I was talking about, the kind of mixing the bowl, chopping wood kind of exercises. Both from the kind of yoga way of approaching them and then with this Dhandal Bhasky emphasis put on it.
And keep tuned to my channel, so I'll show you these meditative exercises from China. And together we can carry on exploring superhuman strength.